she called me back and she was like, oh my God, they're going to do it. I'm like, they're going to do what? She's like, they're going to take the song.
Welcome to Unlikely Story, our brand new podcast. I'm Chris Loafing.
And I am Travis Clough. Thank you for joining us. We have
a very special guest with us today.
One of our all-time favorite people, let alone Brits, favorite people in studio with us today. We are excited to have with us the great Richard Breakspear.
Hello. Thank you for that intro. Very nice. Thank you very much.
Richard Breakspear, a.k.a. Reg B. Reg is a music composer. He's done film compositions, TV compositions, trailer compositions, music for all of these
covers,
wonderful things.
Rock music, end credits songs, just all around fantastic musician.
His work has been featured in a lot of really cool marketing campaigns, including Mission Impossible, Lights Out, Gallows, of course.
Gallows, of course. And also repeated from it was the minus track, I believe, of the Gallows in
Power Rangers.
Power Rangers.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which was actually really cool, too.
Yeah.
Man.
That's right. Dark Phoenix, The Avengers. I mean, that's pretty sweet. Marvel, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu. You've worked with a lot of really amazing companies and people. And Reg is here to tell us all about film composing, his journey, his unlikely story.
Welcome.
Hi. Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, man.
You've got quite an operation here. I'm very impressed.
Thank you. We spared no expense.
No, not at all. You've got my brown M&Ms in a bowl in front of me that you had your children pick out of the bag for me, which is...
I made sure they washed all the COVID off their hands before they did that too. So
that's
you're
all good. I'm fully vaccinated, man.
Oh, sweet. That's right.
Fully vaxxed.
Good job.
Yeah, thanks.
Good job.
I didn't do much.
It was nice knowing you.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
The zombie apocalypse.
There's a weird buzzing in my ears. I'm picking up AM radio right now.
There's a storm coming.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
Yeah.
Well, Reg, it's great to have you here, man.
So, Reg, tell us where you came from and how you got to where you are and where you think you'd like to go.
Yeah. Well, originally, I'm from a town in England called Brighton, which is on the south coast of England. Very kind of quaint English countryside, fields and...
Sheep, any of that kind of stuff?
Lots of sheep, lots of cows. It was a lot of fun kind of growing up there, but there obviously it didn't feel like there was that much to do once you kind of get into your teenage years. So by about, I think 16, 17, I was kind of looking to kind of move away to London.
Well, by 16 or 17, were you already musically inclined at that time?
Yeah, I've been kind of playing guitar from about the age of like 9 or 10, like really badly. Like I couldn't grasp the idea of playing an instrument. I was terrible. I tried playing violin. I tried the piano. I just couldn't. I wasn't one of these guys that could pick up an instrument and just have a natural instinct with it. It was just, I had to lock myself away in a bedroom for a particular summer. I got the bug then. From then on, it was like, okay, this is what I want to do. So I ended up going to college, which I unfortunately got kicked out of. Yeah, I did a music course there. So I guess this would have been kind of around about like 96. What I didn't realize that when I went to apply for this music college was that you had to have a grade from your previous school in music. But the way that it was set up in England is that you could only take either music or art. And I was better at art at the time. So to get the grade, I was like, oh, I'm going to do music because I don't even know if I can even do it.
Yeah.
So I took art, and then I get to do the music college. And I basically lied on the application and said that I studied music previously.
Oh, wow.
So I did a whole year, and they called me in a year later and were like, yeah, we did some background checks and you didn't have a GCSE in music.
We did a little digging.
Yeah. So they kicked me out. And of course, at the time I was 17 and with a chip on my shoulder and was like, I don't care about this, man. I'm going on the road. And that's where my life is my education is going to be. It was a bit brutal. You know, as much as I did have a chip on my shoulder, I was kind of excited to kind of learn and MIDI was kind of being, hailed as the new thing with regards to recording.
Yeah.
And what is MIDI for those who don't know? What
crikey.
is that?
We're going straight into the technical questions.
Just
already.
the bare bones.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, basically, it's MIDI is. See, I'm not even going to have a good answer now. I'm going to be so many people that go, "You don't know what he's talking about."
I might have to look it up.
Yeah,
you know what though? The people that are some of the greatest at what they do don't know the technicals. Of what
I'm
they
not
do.
very technical. I can't read music. I'm
Yeah.
not very technical in that sense.
All right, here's a definition from the computer. It says MIDI is an acronym that stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface.
I was gonna say that.
It's a way to connect devices
Yes.
that make and control sounds such as synthesizers, samplers, and computers so that they can communicate with each other using MIDI messages.
Yes. So telling that to a 17-year-old kid that's only been brought up on AC/DC and The Who, and that didn't make any sense to me when I was 16, 17.
Right.
It was all about going out on the road and having that experience. So I probably didn't help my cause, when they approached me. And, there is a slight snobbery in that world of orchestration and music colleges. And in some regards, rightly so, because, you want the best of the best. But I left and just joined a band and just started touring around England. And
Oh wow!
You said, "Forget it. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go.
man.
I'm gonna go where the wind blows."
yeah, and I didn't. I just went straight home and got told off by my mum for quitting college. And
Oh man. Well, it's kind of interesting you say that you did something that you weren't supposed to, because I feel like that's how the people that get to great heights, they're willing to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We talked in another podcast, our previous one, about Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
He basically lied to get onto the Universal lot.
Right.
I mean, he snuck on. He
Yeah.
trespassed.
He pretended to
Yeah.
work there.
I mean, if you think about what people that are willing to go the distance do,
Mhm.
You got to break some rules.
a lot of them break rules.
Yeah,
and they turn out to be these great, everyone looks up to them and says,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, they're amazing." But yeah.
Well, I think also it's a shame because obviously the arts kind of does suffer when it comes to budgeting for schooling, and I didn't know that was even a requirement at the time. I didn't even know that being a composer was a job at 16 or 17.
Yeah.
I thought I was just I thought it would be cool to go and learn, more the technical side of being a musician. And what I found was that, like I said, I went in with this mentality of being a rock guitarist.
Yeah.
And they were all classically trained musicians. So
Yeah.
when they were coming in, with, we would have on Fridays, they would ask everyone to bring in a piece of music to play. And, people are bringing in Beethoven and Mozart and all this amazing stuff. And I would bring in the Sex Pistols. And, I would just kind of get looked at from the teacher of like, what are you doing?
This reminds me of the School of Rock scene. The kids
Pretty
were just
much.
watching it yesterday.
Yeah.
Where he sees them all playing like the classical song, and then he has them like play the riff from like
Yeah.
Back in Black or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
There is a snobbery. It seems like there should be more camaraderie when it comes to just music as a whole, and not this, well, I know how to read, I know how to sight read, and you're one of those play it by ear kind of
Sure.
guys. Like, you go with the feel, but I know how to read and I can do the technical.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you know what? There's different styles within the same art form.
Mhm.
They can all be appreciated.
Well, the thing is, and we'll obviously speak about this a little bit later, the interesting thing about where, composing for film has gone nowadays, they've been, studios have been gravitating towards more people that aren't classically trained
Yeah.
because they want to kind of get outside of that box. And that's the one thing that I kind of appreciate the fact now that I didn't go down the route of learning, by numbers and
Becoming so stale.
well, yeah, just kind of bringing my own, that stuff, you can always learn stuff. It's always going to be there. The books are always going to be there. The how-to videos are always going to be there. But, in any art form, it's always about bringing an individuality to that, whatever it might be, painting or composing music. It's all about that makes it special.
Right.
And sometimes I just think that, people try and beat that out of you a little bit too much. But
I think that's interesting too, how that kind of ties into what you do now as a film composer, I imagine most of the people you work with don't know what they're talking about in terms of like the technical side of music either. It's like they're describing a feeling, they're describing a tone, or you know what I mean? And it's like that's how we are. I know Travis is a little bit more musically inclined than me, but I know when we have conversations, I'm using words that are not musical, they're more like a feeling, you know,
sure.
like that kind of thing.
I mean, look, the role of the composer on the film is to translate those conversations musically. You know, sometimes you don't want a director coming in thinking they know everything about music. It's great that they have an understanding.
Yeah.
But, you know, your role as a composer is to translate what he's, you know, trying to put up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, it's totally fine if someone doesn't have that language, because again, it's my job to kind of get in, you know, between the cracks and translate that.
Mm-hmm.
What was your job? I'm sorry. Can you say that again one more time, please?
Get in between the cracks.
Yeah.
Get in there.
Ayo. So
dear.
becoming a composer is about getting in there between the cracks.
Exactly. Yeah. I thought this was supposed to be PG.
It is. I was talking about cleaning.
Oh,
like
right.
soap and water.
Sure.
Like I tell my kids every time. You gotta get behind the ears, in the cracks and nooks and crannies. Make sure you stay clean.
So what, after this, you started this band or joined this band, what happened next? I mean, where did that lead you?
That led me up to London. And I think I probably moved to London early 20s.
When did you decide to come to America?
We got asked to come out to America, and we came out for 3 weeks. And I think on day 10, the band broke up.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
10 days.
Yeah,
10 days in America, and that'll do it, huh?
Yeah, and they all left and went back home.
Did that lead you into
composing, that threw you guys into
what happened after that?
I was way off from composing at that point. It was I'd stay. The girl that was in the band, who was my best friend, Rain. She decided to stay too.
Awesome.
So we kind of we camped out basically in this motel because that's all we could afford. We would go out every night and just take in Los Angeles and just try and meet as many people. And we ended up forming a new band and taking that around the country for a couple of years. And then I kind of got to, I guess, early 30s, and I'm like, I can't do this no more. This is not just lugging amps around and
yeah.
So I actually quit music, and that was it. Then I was going to all I was going to do was kind of like sit on the sidelines and watch other people, you know,
live your dream.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I would go on tour with bands. You know, big bands and
that makes me sad hearing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I got to the point. It was just like maybe this wasn't going to work out,
right?
And so I directed a couple of music videos, and I had started a radio show. I had a live night at a bar in Hollywood. So I was doing everything around music, but not doing it myself because I was just like, I can't. This is just too much.
So what was sort of your first introduction into that world, or how did you get exposed to the actual like business side of that?
Well, I was back off of tour and a bit disillusioned with a bunch of stuff, like I said, and started a bunch of other projects to try and keep myself away from having to do anything with creating music. And one day I booked a studio off of a friend and went in and was like, I'm just going to lay down some tracks and just kind of see what happens. And I was halfway through and I was blasting this thing, and there was a knock on the door. And I guess the guy that owned the building was coming along to pick up the mail or something, I don't know. And he said, "Oh, what are you up to?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just kind of writing some music." And he said, "Oh, let's have a listen." So I played it to him, and he said, "Oh, I kind of like that. It's kind of cool." And I was like, "Oh, dang, I thought it was rubbish." And he said, "Oh, I'm the music supervisor for CSI New York."
Oh.
He's like, "Why don't you send me some stuff and I'll see if I can get into the show?" And I was like, "I don't know what that means, but go for it, whatever."
That's great. So like, it's basically like you were still you were playing your stuff and you were overheard.
Yeah, which is the case for most of the things that have kind of happened to me. It's like, I've just, whether you believe in fate or whatever, but yeah, he was like, "Look, send me some stuff."
What came of that?
Well, literally 2 weeks later, he called me and said, "Oh, I need to send you some contracts. We've got you in the show." And I was like,
wow.
Okay, cool. Well, what does that mean? He said, "Oh, I got you into the show." He said, "Send me some more stuff." was like, okay, cool. So went in with a couple of friends and just started creating music. And then we would get another episode and then another episode, another episode. And I just tended to kind of have all my music put in like the autopsy scenes at the beginning. We know when they're trying to figure out what's starting, what happened.
I was just looking again here at your the bio stuff, and it says known for the dark ambient style.
Yeah, right.
Which is of course what a lot of our stuff that you do and our collaborations end up being quite dark. I think that's interesting too, just going back to that. I think a lot of people might look at that, what happened to you in that club or wherever, and think overnight success. But then it's like, no, you had been creating music and doing musical things and working with creating pieces for years and years. So it's like, it's the same thing like with, they say that, the Beatles, it's like the 10,000 hour rule or whatever. You spend a minimum of 10 years doing something, and then it's like, then something might happen. You have enough experience and enough mastery over your craft to finally get that shot. And that's exactly kind of what happened. Like you were doing things for so long that, you were making good stuff.
Yeah. And of course, when you're in that moment, you don't have that perspective.
You don't.
You just feel like everything is going completely wrong.
You want, I was listening to another kind of a snippet from Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary V, he was like, someone asked Gary V why she wasn't getting like the results that she wanted. He's like, it's not about the result. He kind of did his thing. It's not the results. It's the journey. You have to love the journey. Too many of you are going through this journey and you're hating it because you're not getting the results. He's like, I've been at this thing for 19 years. I was doing stuff for 19. How old are you? Sorry to pry, and she's like, well, I'm, 18 or 20 or something. And he's like, you got a long way to go, but if you love the journey, the results will come and you're going to enjoy yourself. Don't be waiting for the thing that's at the end of the rainbow, Enjoy the rainbow. Enjoy the journey. So,
and what is getting there? I'm doing air quotes right now. What is getting there anyway? It's like, what is that? When you get there,
you realize
it's just more.
There's more road.
It's more of the same. Maybe you're at a different budget level. You're at a different height point in your career, but you're still doing the same grind. You're still, you're still working your butt off to make stuff and do whatever it is that you're doing.
Appreciate the fact that you're putting in the work to get to that opportunity. And sometimes we don't see opportunities, in front of us. Because we're so consumed with trying to get to this, like you said, this
status. This status.
And you never know what's going to lead to what else.
All the things that I've done have always, they've always come in. They've always come in. But it's gone completely the opposite direction than I thought it was going to. And the way that I got there was completely different. And sometimes that's been for better or worse. But yeah, it is difficult because when you're in the trenches, sometimes you just don't see that other stuff. And it's important to surround yourself with people that care about you, that can kind of pull you aside and say, hey, just so you know, you're doing this wrong, or just so you know, you're doing really well. You just need to keep on plugging.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a big benefit with Chris and I, is that oftentimes we'll get down, or when one of us is down, the other will act as a support.
Sure.
And, oftentimes we definitely have arguments, creative arguments or whatever, or misunderstandings. But by and large, having someone to, bounce ideas off of and to celebrate even the tiniest wins with is important.
Yeah.
You got to have that stuff.
Yeah.
It's if it's a call from an executive saying, hey, we just want to know more. High five, man. That's a win.
Yeah.
Nothing may come of that, but the fact that you got the call, that's a win. Celebrate that.
Yeah.
So
agree.
if anyone like out there is feeling like they're on their own, surround yourself with other people that have similar mindsets and help lift each other up. And if one good thing happens to them, don't be mad that it didn't happen to you. Celebrate that for them. And then it'll come back to you.
Yeah, it's important to kind of play a role in the ecosystem of whatever art form you're trying to create, and anybody's art form or anybody's life. And it's important to kind of nurture that ecosystem and lift people up all the time. And also realize that, especially in this industry, it's 95% no's.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got to get used to that.
Totally
and
true.
That doesn't necessarily mean that you're not good enough, or that you're not heading in the right direction. It's the fact that you aren't right for that project at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people at that point bow out,
Yeah.
and they go, well, obviously it's not working, so I'm off. And LA is littered with, with people that do that constantly.
Mm-hmm. One thing for us that we've always had in our brains is that we're not able to ever count on anyone other than ourselves to make something happen for ourselves.
Yeah, it's the sad truth. It's like you have to be the master of your own destiny, the master of your own journey. It's like captain of your ship, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people in the industry are in this mindset of, I'm going to do a good job here, and then people are going to like me, and they're going to pick me.
If I can just get that agent or that manager to help give me the lift that I need or whatever, it's like.
The reality is that you have to continue fighting.
Yeah.
You have to keep going.
Yeah.
And that you're not even as good as the last thing that you've done.
Right.
You're only as good as the next thing that you're going to do. And in many of those cases, the people that are trying to help you are more so trying to ride on your train as it's going. And so if you're not driving the train, then you're just, you're watching it pass by. So taking charge of your own journey will allow you to get much farther than if you wait around and rely on someone else to kind of come along. Now, you were playing, you were going for it on some things, and then someone reached out to you. Same thing with us. We were making the movie. We were going for it. People saw that the train was moving. They wanted to jump on. And those people were supportive. And it did work out. And it made the train harder to stop once it was in motion.
Yeah.
But once we landed, it's like, okay, what next?
Right.
Right. I'm curious, Reg, what did happen after that CSI thing that led you into, like, how did the career start to develop from there?
Well, I started taking it a little bit more seriously once I was doing quite a few episodes of CSI New York. I got quite a few episodes under my belt. I did a bunch of marketing campaigns for different brands, for advertisements. And I did like a theme tune for a show called The Chelsea Lately Show.
Okay.
And so it was it was moving along. It wasn't exactly but I didn't really know where I wanted to be at that point. So this was just kind of like, as long as there was momentum, and as long as there was a little bit of hope that this was moving in the right direction, then I was just going to go with it.
Well, I have a question on that. Is that if someone, when I first met Chris, I thought to myself, dude, this guy knows exactly where he wants to go. Yeah. And he was driven and focused on it. And that attracted me to him as a person, because I was like, I had already had a couple kids. I was just had been through the housing bubble and careers. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, I got to figure it out still. And I'm quite a bit older than this guy. And he's so young and he knows exactly what he wants to do. Knowing that a little bit of that was your path also, what advice would you give someone who isn't maybe as driven to help them kind of focus in so that they can make stronger efforts and headways into the business?
Well, I think the bottom line is that is the key ingredient. So if you don't have that, it isn't necessarily, it's going to take a long time for that to come around, and it's just going to be by chance that does happen to you, because you pluck anybody out that is successful in any kind of industry or any career, that is the main ingredient, is that they have this focus. Not all the time. I mean, it's difficult to kind of maintain those levels all the time, especially if you've got a family and there's bills to pay. Yeah. Or you have family that has other expectations for you and all this kind of external stuff that just is piled on top of you. But at the end of the day, for me personally, the idea of doing a 9-to-5 straight job was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. So there was nothing you could do to me on my journey to creating music or creating art that could be anything worse than that.
So we're talking about different kinds of motivators then. Yours, that was like a negative motivator, because I'm the same way. I've worked at 9-to-5 jobs. I've done that stuff. I've worn suits. I've worn, different hats for different things. Right. And I just cannot do that ever again. Yeah. I can never do it again.
It's soul destroying. And, and look, lots of people do that, and I'm not knocking it. But for me, we all kind of have this thing inside of us that tells us, this little, itch that you need to scratch. a lot of people don't do it. I get it. It's it can be a little bit of a daunting
It's hard to
task.
understand people that don't have that too. To be honest, like
Yeah.
I look at someone and I'm like, don't you realize your potential? You
Well,
have so much more within you.
Yeah,
Why
sure.
not do it?
And I think I think it's a scary thing to do, because once then there's a responsibility there that
Yeah.
if you put that out there and you tell people that's what you want to go and do and you don't do it, well then you've lost. You're a loser.
Yeah.
But I always say the most attractive thing in anybody is passion, right?
Yeah.
About anything. I don't care if I don't know nothing about necessarily making films and cameras and all this, but I love being around people that love film and camera.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Same with someone that paints. I've got a friend of mine who's an amazing artist and does these wall murals and all this kind of stuff. And where did you come up with that? I don't get it. It just doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense to me.
It's fascinating.
But the fact that he that's all he does, it's amazing. And as soon as you kind of strip, I think the most important thing is that you need to strip away any expectations, right? Of course, there are goals that come along the way, but it isn't about the money, and it isn't about the success, and it isn't about the label and all this kind of stuff. It is about, for me, it's about moving forward all the time. And I just need a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
I need every
Yeah.
single
Yeah.
time.
That's right.
Just a little bit of hope, just a little crack. And here's another crack for you.
yeah.
And there's a little crack in the door that I can see potential in.
Yeah.
That is it. I'm all over it. And of course, there are times, especially as a musician, I've been working for free for the last 30 years. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
there are going to be lean times. But again, the thing in the back of my head was like, there is nothing that can be done to me that would be worse than having to settle for the 9 to 5
Yeah.
suit and tie job.
It's interesting. Something you said too is that for however many years, there's times where you do things
Mhm.
for free as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
for us, we do stuff like that all the time
Yeah.
to support. We've got a short film we're going to help produce. We're not making anything. I've already spent a lot of time, Chris. We've both spent a lot of time helping set up locations, negotiating things, getting people from our team up here in Fresno together to be able to work on the project,
Yeah.
and supporting the people that are going to be coming up. And it's not so much what we are getting monetarily out of it. It's the fulfillment of working with someone, helping see them rise up and take the reins, and then developing something that we can create together for who knows how long, the next 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
This episode is sponsored by TravelIsSwell.com. Guys, let's face it, we've been all cooped up in our houses in the bunker for way too long, and it's time for a vacation. We need to get out there. We need to get some sun. If you're like me, you really need a tan. I've been at the computer all day, every day, and I need some vitamin D. So visit TravelIsSwell.com. The experts at Travel is Swell are certified sandals and beaches resort specialists and have been so for 20 years. They're going to hook you up, guys. They're going to tell you all the best bells and whistles and customizations that you should be having on your trip to the Caribbean, and exactly which resort is best for you. It is within your reach. It should be within your reach this summer. Get out there and don't let this season pass you by without some much-needed fun in the sun and some time to unwind. TravelIsSwell.com. Check it out today. I'm pale. Paler than Kylo Ren right now. And why was Kylo Ren pale? Because he couldn't catch those rays. Huh? The rays? All right, we're here with composer Richard Breakspear. And Reg, you've worked with us on several films. Held, the poster right behind Travis here. And before that, Prey, a film we did with Blumhouse. And a bunch of shorts and things in between. But tell us how we got connected. How did you get connected with us through the first thing I think we did together, and we didn't even know you at the time, which was the Gallows trailer.
Yeah. I guess what would that have been, like 2015, I think it was, right?
15 or 14. I'm not sure which.
Yeah, somewhere around about that time. And basically, I got into doing trailers. And one of the things that was kind of, I guess if people remember, around about 2014, 2015, covers were like quite a big thing.
Yeah.
In the trailer world.
The kind of like moody.
Yeah, exactly.
Moody,
Yeah.
dissonant covers, yeah.
So one of the things that I decided to do was I realized that people were doing a bunch of covers of kind of lesser known tracks So I thought, oh, okay, what I'll do is I'll pick like the top 10 biggest selling songs.
Yeah.
I'll cover those. I know I'm not going to be able to, they're not going to get used because the licenses would be too much, but at least people will see when I send it out to trailer houses and music supervisors, they'll be like, who the hell is this idiot that's doing this?
Yeah.
At least it would kind of make a bit of noise.
Bit of noise, yeah.
Yeah.
So early 2015, I get a call from BMG saying, we got your track, Smells Like Teen Spirit, we really like it, be interested in doing some more stuff. But just so you know, Teen Spirit is never going to get used. I was like, yeah, okay, I kind of guessed that.
Yeah. Okay, so just to he had done Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit, a cover, and
it's a very haunting,
Yeah.
dissonant cover of the song.
Yeah.
but as you said, clearly something that will never be allowed to be used.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the publishers told me they were like, it's they don't do this type of thing. It's never going to get used. Forget about it. But you know, we like what you did, so we'll.
But it was brilliant. Yes.
Oh, thanks so much. Then about 2 months later, I get a phone call from the same person going, "Look, don't get excited because it's not going to happen, but." We've got a request for Smells Like Teen Spirit with like Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen. It's going to be too much. So don't get excited. But I just need to tell you. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So then another month goes by, and they come back and they're like, okay, they've put in an official request for this thing.
Yeah.
But when we drop the number, there is no way. This is an indie film. The budget on the film's like $100,000.
Yeah.
There's no way that they are going to be able to afford it. And they were like, it's Warner Brothers, but as soon as we drop the number, it's not going to happen. I was like, look, whatever, man. It's all good. So literally the next day, she called me back and she was like, oh my God, they're going to do it. I'm like, they're going to do what? She's like, they're going to take the song. And I can't remember what the exact figure was, but I think it was over $1 million for the license.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well,
Man,
the figure-
10 times the budget of the
I think
film.
the number
Yeah.
we heard was 1.2 or something.
Yeah, I heard about
1.3.
1.2, 1.3.
When we heard about this too, just from our end of things,
Yeah.
they told us they wanted this Smells Like Teen Spirit cover. They showed us the trailer,
Well,
I think, with it.
yeah.
Like they had a cut that they had done with it, and we were like, oh, that's cool.
Well, we had heard a couple. There was a California Dreamin'. There was
Yeah.
a couple other ones.
no, that was San Andreas. You're thinking of what was the
Well,
other one?
There were several others that we listened to.
Yeah, because I
was.
did those.
You
So
did- okay.
the Warner Brothers came to us and said, would you, look, we need some alternatives here right now because this is...
Because we listened to those alternatives.
Yeah.
And
I think we did like Schools Out by Alice
Schools
Cooper.
Out for Summer.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That was one of them.
Yeah.
I can't remember the other one.
There was
but
another really good one that was a contender, but
They all
Dean Schneider, our manager at 360,
and Carolyn Blackwood.
and Carolyn and us, me especially,
Uh-huh.
because I'm a huge Nirvana and Foo Fighters fan. So I was
Yeah.
like, man, they got to get approval from Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
I'm down with that. Please say yes.
Yeah,
Please
yeah.
say
Yeah.
yes. And
But when they told us the number of how much it would cost and you know how they were fighting for it, we were just like, "Are you serious?" Like,
oh, yeah.
our,
I mean,
it's a 10. Like our movie budget is, like you said, it's like a tenth of that.
yeah, we had to look at each other and say, wow, I guess that's marketing and music because they're going to make 10 times the amount it took us
Yeah.
plus to make the actual film. And
Mhm.
so for us, it was mind-boggling. It was insane. Made me want to go out and write a hit song right then and there.
yeah. I mean, it was kind of nuts. And I think it's still one of the biggest licensing deals that has been done.
And that
Yeah.
we loved the song because we did love the song and we did fight for it with Carolyn and with Dean.
There was
to-
there was back and forth that we heard about behind the scenes about getting the estate's approval. for
yeah,
Cobain's,
the
like-
state and
Yeah.
the band and all that
but
stuff.
but apparently they liked it. They thought it was
Yeah.
cool. Like they
Yeah,
saw
that's
the-
what I heard too. I mean, I
Yeah.
heard, again, when they were talking about, look, it's not going to happen because of the number. And when the number wasn't an issue anymore, they were like, well, it's not going to get past the estates.
right.
And then
right.
they caught up, and I even think that I heard a rumor that they'd flown Frances out to New York to watch the film, and she dug it, and she was like, "Yeah, okay, cool."
That's
nice.
awesome.
Nice.
So it was all, yeah, it was really exciting, and like I said, I'd sent an email to you guys with an attachment of some music, and we kind of just like, "Oh, hey, thanks, really cool,"
Yeah.
and then didn't hear anything.
Yeah, I think it was a
That was it.
while.
Oh,
I think
it was a
because
couple
we were,
years,
we
yeah.
were still because we did Gallows 2 shortly after that, Like we kind of rolled
Yeah, I mean,
right
like
into
in
Gallows
2016,
2.
we filmed the sequel. And
But along the way, we were working on a lot of these pitch trailers
Yeah.
and concept shorts. And I found myself plugging a lot of Reg's music in because he sent
Yeah.
like a folder of just
Mhm.
cool trailer tracks. And I started plugging them in because they sounded great and I didn't have anything else to use. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to like, try to get someone in here to create something just for something that was a pitch essentially. So I was using all these tracks and I'm like,
they
dude, these
fit
are
perfectly.
yeah, they fit perfectly. And I was like, dude, these sound really cool. And they're like, who's this guy again? Like, yeah. And I like looked you up. I found the email again, and I was like, I'm just gonna give this guy a call and just tell him like his stuff's awesome, and that we obviously love the Nirvana cover, and
let's
like
connect.
see what he's
Yeah.
up to. Because at the time we had only been working with like one other composer on anything,
Yeah.
and just we wanted to kind of broaden our horizons and meet more people. And honestly, that's an important thing I think in any field, but especially in filmmaking. Like, never pass up the opportunity to meet someone new in the industry and connect with them, because like
Sure.
you said earlier, you never know where that's going to lead. You never know how that's going to dovetail into meeting someone else or just creating an amazing relationship with people, because it's all about the relationships.
Mm.
Yeah, you're
in
not
the
going to want to
industry.
work with people that you just don't get along with.
Yeah.
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 And so thankfully I called Reg up. We got to talking. We hit it off, I think we talked for a while. I told you we were using some of the tracks in some of our stuff, and then I think it was not long after that we decided to just to try to meet up, because we had been corresponding via phone and email and stuff, and then I think we just invited you to come up to Fresno.
Yeah, there was a couple of conversations about some of the projects you were working on at the time, I remember. And I think Prey was kind of in the background a little bit.
Yeah.
It
but
was
very
a little
far.
bit.
And it was, and I don't think there had been any decisions made, because obviously there was issues with that film.
We used some of your stuff as temp tracks in Gallows 2 as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
right, because we were preparing to do a test screening.
Yes.
And I think we wanted to have you do that to see how that relationship was going to work leading into Prey.
Yeah.
So when it's like, okay, cool. He did some great stuff and actually helped us out quite a bit in getting some things prepared for the Gallows 2. That made us like, we love this guy. He's awesome. Like, let's find it and make a way to do stuff together. And Prey really worked out great in that regard. So
yeah, and with regards to Prey, I remember the phone call as if it was yesterday. I remember when you guys called me. And I don't think we'd met at this point either. And I remember you called me and said, "Hey, listen, we've got this project. It's kind of fallen into our lap, and we're kind of taking it over. It's with Blumhouse." I was like, "Oh, okay, wow, okay, cool." And like, but would you be interested in maybe doing, the score for it? Which, of course, was the thing at this point that I've just been asking anybody that would listen. Do you have a short film I could do? Do you have a movie I could do? Do you know I produced it? So I remember trying to play it all cool, but I give some thought. I give some thought. And I remember when you put the phone down, the first thing I googled was like how to score a film, because I had no idea.
nice.
No idea.
Oh, I love that.
And you just come off the back of this huge movie, Blumhouse, the coolest, movie studio out there, and it was like, oh, this is kind of like a bit of a dream come true. This is crazy. And then I think we organised to kind of meet up at some point.
And you came up to Fresno.
I came up to sunny Fresno.
That was the first time I think we met face to face.
You were going to do, I think you were planning a little trip to Yosemite or Sequoia National Forest too, because we got those parks right close. But on your way back, it was like, okay, let's meet up and do lunch. And how was that?
It was weird.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Tell.
Well, I didn't really know what to kind of expect, and I got the sense that you guys were a little bit quirky. And
ain't that the truth?
Yeah, right. And I just remember turning up, and you sent me to this. You gave me this address, which I assumed was your house, which it wasn't.
It wasn't.
So I turned up at this house, and I'd never been to Fresno before, so that was kind of a bit of an eye opener. And I remember pulling up at this house and just looking around, and no one was there. And I kind of walked out the back, and this woman came out. She's like, "Oh, can I help you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here to meet Chris and Travis." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, they're not here." And I'm like, "You're not here." She's like, "Yeah, they'll be back in a minute. Just hang out." And I was like, "Okay." So I remember.
This is Trina, our wardrobe.
I remember you turned up. Now you were bringing the ship container.
The shipping
bringing the
container was
shipping
literally
container.
getting like hauled in as we.
So this shipping container comes in the back of this massive truck,
And the church was getting built in the
Yeah,
backyard.
well, I remember walking in, and you guys were really busy and not really kind of like obviously focusing on me, which is fine because you had a bunch of stuff going on. And you were like, "Oh, hey, yeah, we'll be over in a minute." I was like, "What the hell is going on?" And I remember Chris coming over and going, "Oh, hey man, how's it going?" I was like, "Yeah, cool. What you up to?" And you're like, "Oh, we're just about to burn a church down in the back of this garden." And I was like, "Okay, what is going on here? This is a bit weird." And sure enough, you'd built a church in this back garden, and you were about to burn it down. I was like, is this kind of like some satanic thing going on? Have I been brought up into some kind of weird black magic?
Sacrilege.
Yeah, like we need the blood of an Englishman type of thing. Or anyway, so I think actually the most horrific part of that, and we joke about it still now, the most horrific part of that day was obviously the sweet corn on
Getting
the pizza.
Yeah,
we went and got pizza, and you got sweet corn on your pizza.
We went to Pieology, which is like it's like a Subway custom for pizza, custom pizza making setup, and they don't have it anymore, which I'm a little bummed by. But I liked the crunch of the corn. But I would put sweet corn on my pizza.
Disgusting.
And apparently, some people think that's weird.
It is weird, but
That was the most traumatic experience of the trip. All the things that we did.
All the things I didn't question. That was the thing that I was like, I don't know about this guy.
I've had enough.
It was funny too because we had while we were there, I think, because during that period of time, we had several people recognize us. So while we were there, I think there were some people that came up like, "Hey, are you guys the guys that did the Gallows?" And you're like, "Well, you celebrities and everything." You know, it was funny.
It was super funny.
Everything went crazy that day. It was
great.
I
think we, generally speaking, hit it off, and we're pretty excited to be working on Pray together.
Yeah.
And I think what you brought to Pray, the tone and just the vibes and the instrumentation of that music. If you haven't heard it yet, you can find Pray on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
I just think the score turned out really cool, and for that project being what it was, where it was really like a kind of a salvage job. I don't know.
That's a whole other podcast, by the way. How we took a movie that was already shot and then rewrote part of it and redirected part of it.
Coming in that late in the game and making something out of these sort of scattered pieces. I mean, it was just really cool to see all that come together, and I think the music was really one of those things that the glue that helped kind of help put it all back together again.
Well, thanks. From my perspective, it was hard work because I had no idea what I was doing. And I was just panicking the whole time. And I'm like, they're going to fire me at any given moment. And yeah, there were some issues with that film. Not that it necessarily affected me directly with regards to the score, but you got the sense that there was just a lot of stuff going on in the background. And obviously Blumhouse at this point were just exploding.
Yeah.
And it just felt like at any given moment, this film could just go away.
Yeah.
And that, as I'm sure it was for you, was kind of stressful because I'm like, this is my opportunity. This is like, about 6 months before that, I'd gone into Universal Music and spoke to the vice president, Rachel Levy, because I know her husband. And I was like, oh, can you get me an interview? And he was like, yeah, she doesn't really do interviews. And I'm like, well, just get me in there. I want to speak to her.
Yeah.
And we've met a couple of times. And I remember walking in and she's like, what's up? And I'm like, I want to do film music. And she's like, and? I'm like, well, you work at Universal. Can you help me out? And she's like, no, you don't just walk into Universal and ask for a film. But if you want to start somewhere, I suggest you go to Blumhouse. I was like, how the hell am I going to get a Blumhouse film? And then 6 months later, you called me up. And so I was just panicked the whole time that I was going to be exposed and I wasn't going to be able to finish the job, or the job was going to get pulled at any given time. And then that opportunity would be gone. But we kind of turned it around pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I think over the course of like 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We got it into good shape.
Yeah.
And it was a fun movie to work on.
It was great. I mean, and it was our first real collaboration from start to finish, which was awesome. And I don't know, I just remember like even up to that final mix session and creating the end song that we recorded. That was a ton of fun.
Well, that was fun for me. I was in a band in college. I had this opportunity to write some lyrics and sing and bring some of the band back together again. And Reg, created this piece of music and it was great. And we kind of put it together and we were able to have an end credits song that is really cool.
Yeah.
It's cool to be able to be in an industry where you can kind of do the fun things that you enjoy doing
Yeah.
indirectly even. So for me, that was a really fun opportunity to do that and to sing. And
Yeah. Well, and then after Pray, that was in 2017 was when we filmed, but it released in 2019. And then it wasn't long. It wouldn't have been long after that we started talking about Held, right?
we just hoped that he would want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and you were on set, enjoyed the set, saw what we were doing, and then we sent you the script while we were still in the process.
That's right.
And then you read it and said, "I'm in."
Yeah.
And we were.
I think because initially, you didn't obviously tell me the full story, but you told me about the characters and what their situation was. And I remember I drove up to Fresno. Again, I was just kind of blown away with what you guys had done on a small indie budget. And I remember I met Jill and Bart, and of course they were in kind of, actor mode. So they were, and I was just so blown away by, I think it was, they were filming towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, I think I remember that day.
Yeah, and it was so intense.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what the ending of the film was at this point because I hadn't read the script. And I just remember thinking, I definitely have to do something with this. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be fun. And then you sent me the script, and I didn't see the ending coming. I was just like, oh wow,
nice.
That's completely changed. The interesting thing about that script, which made it fun with the score, was that the bad guy kind of changes throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And you don't really know who
the bad guy or girl or
the hero even. It's like, who are you rooting for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like the fact that it kind of, it kept you on your toes a little bit. And then of course I started seeing, some dailies and stuff and started working up some ideas. Yeah, man, that was a fun process. It was.
You were reached out to by a soundtrack label, right? Or a publishing company. Tell us about that.
Movie Score Media reached out to me just before the film came out, probably about 6 weeks or something. And they asked me to send them a score. They would be interested to see if it fit their label. And they got back to me and they really liked it and wanted to release it on their label, which is really cool because they've got, some great people that they've released, soundtracks.
Right.
That's kind of like a feather in your cap or a bragging right to be able to get that. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's all great. It was great. I mean, they were awesome to work with, Movie Score Media. They were great people to, kind of shape the soundtrack because obviously the soundtrack's a little bit different from what the music in the film is.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were great. And it was, they did a bunch of cool artwork for it.
Yeah. Now, there was one track in particular, and we have some pieces here that you brought with you, Reg, that was probably the one we struggled with the most, I would say, right?
Yeah.
It was at a very crucial turning point in the movie without, giving away too much. If you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to spoil it for you.
Yeah.
But it's at a really crucial turning point in the film. We had some temp music in that we thought was working pretty well. But I remember having conversations with you about getting it to a level that I think you felt delivered for the scene and provided the right instrumentation so that it felt like it was just like really full and reached that level that you were trying to achieve.
Yeah, that was a tough out of all the music.
The Eden Room, right?
That was the hardest cue to write because for a few reasons. One of them was budgets.
Right.
And the fact
we had none.
The fact that, the temp music was an orchestral piece and it was really working as a lot of temp music does. So basically, one of the roles of a composer is to manage expectations from a director or a producer.
Yeah.
And
because we are wacky.
Well, it's it's part of your job.
Want everything and all that. Yeah.
You're not supposed to know how much an orchestra is going to cost, or a certain synth, or a individual players. So, when we kind of sat down, I was like, okay, I get how this scene works with this piece of this orchestral music, but here's the problem: we don't have the budget. We're in the middle of a pandemic, so there are no orchestras right now, and so why don't I give you some options to kind of see? Because we were happy to use some virtual instrumentation with regards to orchestras in the movie
Right.
to a certain point.
Yeah.
And I felt, as most composers do with that stuff, it's kind of cheating a little bit. I mean, they can sound great.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel comfortable having it all the way through the movie. So I didn't mind peppering it around because of the situation and because of the budget. So I went away and I kind of started trying to score this particular scene. And it's interesting looking back on it now because I completely went about it the wrong way. I was completely looking at the wrong thing in the scene to get that inspiration.
Okay.
And I tried to score the scene as it being part of the rest of the movie, what the audience was watching at the time, right? But then what I realized as kind of, being able to step back from him, I realized that I wasn't scoring I was scoring what was inside the guy's head who's talking on this particular moment in the video.
Yeah.
And what piece of music would he want on this video that he's presenting?
Yeah.
So once I realized that, it was kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to send you some options. And I remember sending you option 1. You were like, nah, it's not working. It was kind of more synthy, sound designy kind of stuff. And then a couple more options that were more in keeping with what had happened in the rest of the film. It's like, nah, it's not kind of working. And I knew in the back of my mind, I thought, okay, well, at some point I'm going to write an orchestral piece. And I know it's going to be the thing that they come back and say, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, well, I'll do it just so we can kind of have that awkward conversation of like, well, I know that's what you want, but we can't do it.
Right. So just like we couldn't get Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Exactly, right, yeah.
Nirvana, yeah.
So, and again, you learn these things as you go along.
Honestly, I feel like that's an important point to make.
Uh-huh.
Everything that you're going to go for is going to feel like you can't actually get it.
Yeah.
Or you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, if it doesn't feel that way, it's probably not worth going for.
Sure.
And I feel like when you're like, if it's out of the realm or it's out of the world or it's too big,
Mm-hmm.
man, it's almost like you should take that. Not everyone, but I feel like I take that as like oh yeah,
Yeah, right.
Watch,
Yeah, watch me.
watch me do this.
Yeah.
Watch us put our efforts together. Watch us combine with other people that have a
Right.
vision, and watch us blow you out of the water.
Right. And normally I would agree with you.
Yeah.
But the added element to this story is the fact we were in a global pandemic and there are no orchestras.
Right.
So there was nowhere that you could go unless you were bringing in individual players from all over the world or, you had access to certain people. But I guess this would have been about May or June time.
Mm-hmm.
So we were really in the thick of it and no one was going anywhere.
No one really had any knowledge about
Yeah.
stuff either.
And it wasn't a case of that we could push the movie because, the movie was going to be, showcasing at some film festivals at the end of the year and it had to be finished. And
Right.
there was still a whole bunch of stuff to be done with sound and coloring and da-da-da-da-da. And again, I didn't want to be the element that was holding up the, everything. So I remember I done a couple of versions.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those here.
Yeah.
Which one should I do?
Let's have a look.
Guys, this is cool too because you'll go through lots of iterations of music. It's a process that can be tricky. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of, if you're not a musical person, there's a lot of explaining in perhaps non-musical ways or terms. Like, I don't know, that it needs to sound a little bit more like a beehive.
Yeah,
Chris was using the word like hivey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it better than that, but hivey,
Yeah.
and
Not the store.
yeah.
Hy-Vee.
Hivey. Is there a store?
There's a store called Hy-Vee.
Where?
It's like a pharmacy.
I've never heard of it.
You ever heard
In
of Hy-Vee?
Nebraska?
I thought that was a nationwide
No.
brand.
No, I've never heard of
Definitely not.
Hivey. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But
But he's got a couple of these early iterations. Maybe just like point it towards the microphone here.
Yeah, I
and
don't know how much you can hear of this, but I think this was like one of the very first ones where it was.
There is a way.
So this was like very minimal.
Spanning 60
yeah, just kind of a hum, a
Yeah,
tone,
sound designing.
a nagging sound
Hivey.
designy
It's
thing.
Hivey. And so there was a little kind of
ghosty.
Yeah. And you were like, nah, that's not working. So I was like, okay, cool. That's not a problem. I think, let's see what this one is. Hold on.
Told you there was a way
So again-
to get that spark back. And reestablish order in your house.
sound design. This was kind of like
There is a
the thought process behind this
Welcome to the
was
Eden Group. Spanning
this was the
62
big
countries,
reveal, and
our
this was
state-of-the-art facilities
almost
provide
like
romantic destinations. Stay secure. World where chivalry is
Kind of
alive
like
and well.
Conjuring style stream.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
kind of like the release of terror. The terror now
Right.
kind of just and
Yeah.
the dread was just pouring out of
Right.
Jill's
Yeah.
character.
Very haunting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, you came back and you were like, "No, that's not working over. It's not punching."
Right.
So I think that that after a couple of more things, I think. Again, let me just see what this one is. So this was basically the demo. I was like, okay, I'm going to send this demo.
This is the orchestrated demo, right?
Yeah. So this
Okay.
is the
It's
the
all-
very
it-
rough.
It's all like MIDI elements. Yeah, it's like alluring,
Yeah.
but menacing.
I remember I really liked the building of it too. It kind of starts building.
Yeah.
So it was the interesting thing about that one was that the fact that, again, like I said, it wasn't about scoring the scene. It was about scoring what piece of music would the guy in the video want, and he would want a piece of music that was quite regal,
Yeah.
Yeah,
It had
I was
some-
just thinking
like
the word
some
regal. That's so funny.
heritage, right?
Yeah.
So
elegant,
his
yeah.
message that is completely crazy
Yeah.
has some kudos to it, some weight to it, because he's picked this piece of music.
That gravitas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And then so you had this piece that you shared with us, and we liked it. I remember liking that, and we were like, okay, this is going to work. But then you're like, okay, now how are we going to get it made,
Yeah,
played in like a way that actually sounds, like a real orchestra?
yeah, and that was. I think we'd had conversation because that was my biggest concern. It's like, look, we could work this up, with MIDI instruments, but it just isn't. I'm just going to feel like people are going to be sat in the movie theater going, yeah, I see what he did there, and
Especially for like trained ears, maybe not to the lay person, but I think, seasoned moviegoers, people obviously who work in the industry would know. And like, it's just like, as a musician too, to take pride in your work, I'm assuming that's like, you really want this to sound as good as it possibly can.
yeah, because the movie deserved it. It was like at this point, everything was coming together. The performances were working really well. We've got Brandon on board with regards to sound design. It was like, I can't
Yeah.
just, so we had a conversation basically. And I remember you guys said, look, why don't you go and investigate how much it's going to cost, even if it's available, right? Our orchestra's available right now. So I reached out to the great people at Budapest Orchestra, and basically was like, look, hey, I don't know what you guys are up to. I know Europe is kind of opening up a little bit more than the rest of the world. Is there any possibility that you have any time available? Because I'd looked on their calendar online. It was completely chock-a-block of all the studios were just booking up all the time.
Yeah.
So the guys got back to me and they said, look, we have this one day. We've got one day in the next 3 months that's coming up in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
And we can put you at the very end of this session that we have. We can give you half an hour, and it's going to cost you X amount of dollars, a couple of $1,000.
Yeah, it was pretty cheap if I remember right.
And I'm like, I'll take it. I'll book it right now. We're doing it. So I called you guys, and you were like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so got together with a couple of great orchestrators, and we sat down and figured it out. Put it onto paper and sent it off, and then up at 6 o'clock in the morning, because obviously they were recording Budapest. And as soon as I heard it, over the Zoom call in the headphones, it was just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
And I remember you telling us like the very first take was just awesome.
Oh,
Like,
it was just, I'm like,
and
oh,
from
we're
there,
done.
Yeah.
No, we'll do a few more. We obviously had to do some overdubs and stuff. But
Yeah.
it just, even just over headphones, over the internet on a Zoom call, it just sounded so good. And they're masters at what they do over there.
Yeah.
They're just amazing players with an amazing studio and engineers. So that was just a real pleasure. And then as soon as you put it on that scene, it just worked with this piece of orchestral music, because he was aligning himself with, the great thinkers of the world. And then
And let me just stress too, and kind of emphasize like how big a deal this was for us as indie guys. I mean, you see behind the scenes footage of John Williams and Hans Zimmer, doing these big
yeah.
orchestra conducting and stuff. But for indie films, I would say, and you can maybe attest to this, Reg, but I would say most indie films are all like digital, all virtual stuff. I mean, they don't have the money to get live orchestration most of the time, right?
Not a lot of time, no. I mean, there are obviously some great individual players out there.
Sure.
That can come in. But to get the orchestra the size that we had it,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
And the footage too, like we got a footage from the Budapest Orchestra.
We could see people look, and this is the point. This is the point. It's like us seeing a film of ours on the big screen.
Yeah.
It's like you hearing an actual orchestra of people
Play music.
the music.
Yeah.
That is like a fulfillment. That's an achievement. That's a milestone. It's something to be very proud of. And it's like Christmas morning, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, oh my gosh. And so when I know how I felt seeing someone actually play some of the music that was going to be in our film,
Mm-hmm.
from a filmmaker's perspective, I was blown away. I loved it. It made Chris and I say, we got to have that kind of music. We have to have an orchestra on everything we do. We have to budget for it. It elevates it so much more. From a composer standpoint, how did that feel to you, just knowing that you had something and it was synth or it was just kind of a digital
Notes on a
piece,
page, yeah.
and then to actually see that kind of pinnacle of the creative process?
It's the best. It's the best part of the job when that kind of all comes together. I mean, I don't remember too much about it because I was so exhausted by the time we got there and so excited at the same time. But it was amazing. As soon as it kind of came back, it's and they do some great things with the virtual instruments nowadays, but nothing like what these individual players when they all come together in a room.
Yeah.
With all these amazing mics and these years and years of experience with these engineers.
Yeah.
And, I don't think people, especially indie filmmakers, there are deals to be done out there with regards to orchestral music.
Yeah.
And there are, people that you can go to. You might not get, LA Philharmonic,
Right.
but there are, like I said, there are deals to be done.
Yeah.
Because, it has been a bit of a dying breed with regards to orchestras, unfortunately.
Well, I imagine because of COVID, there was a lot of opportunities.
Oh, we
You know, a
even
lot
here
of-
in Fresno, the Fresno Philharmonic, we've wanted to do something.
It seems like just like actors want to act, musicians want to play.
Right.
It's like if there's an
Yeah.
opportunity to do something, it's like you would think they would jump at the chance to play.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that, necessity is the mother of invention in it. So it's, sometimes, not having access to all the tools is better than having access to all the tools because it makes you think outside the box a little bit more and maybe get a little bit more inventive. It was great. It worked for the scene.
It totally did. And if you're watching on YouTube, guys, we'll play some of the footage of the actual orchestra. They
Yeah.
provided some footage of them playing our piece, and it was awesome just to see that giant group of people doing something for our movie. I mean, it was pretty fulfilling. It felt very much like seeing that behind the scenes footage that we're used to seeing of John Williams and Hans Zimmer conducting the big orchestra. And it's like, it really makes it feel like a big deal,
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like we want to, if you want to continue to make progress in your field and to improve and do better, these are levels up.
Yeah, you always want to
You
level
want to
up.
level up. And so this is an opportunity to level up.
Yeah.
And so we want to do that and do that as much as we can in all the future stuff that we're doing.
Definitely. So definitely check out Held, guys, if you haven't seen Held.
July 13th, the Held Blu-ray and DVD are going to be released. They're going to be at, I think, all the Walmart stores. I think it's also going to be in Redbox. So we're excited about that. July 13th, guys.
That's right.
Check out Held. And you can check it out now on all the streaming platforms as well. But
And as we're getting close to kind of wrapping up here, I have some rapid fire questions for you, Reg,
Okay.
that I want to throw your way.
Sure.
Rapid fire.
Yeah.
Favorite composer?
John Williams.
John Williams. And if you don't know who John Williams is, you need to reflect and rethink your life a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Everyone knows.
all the greatest themes of my childhood heroes have been played by
so
John
good.
Williams.
Yeah.
So good. Okay. John Williams, favorite film score?
Wow, that's easy too. I mean, I do have like a top 5, but the top one is Empire Strikes Back.
Ooh, yeah. So good. What would be
Yeah, give us the other ones.
Give
I'm
us a couple
curious.
more.
I
Some
would
other
go,
faves.
not necessarily in any order, but I'd go Empire Strikes Back, John Williams. A River Runs Through It
Ooh, yeah.
by Mark Isham. 7.
7 is really great.
Yeah.
Alien. and then push come to shove, I'd probably have to go with. I really like Ex Machina or Ex
Oh, yeah.
Machina.
Oh, yeah.
Ex Machina.
Ex
You-
Machina.
One we were talking about the other day too, Interstellar. You really like that
Oh
one
yeah,
as well.
that's pretty good too. That would be in the top 10
Yeah.
or the top 20. I don't know, but there's. I mean,
Also, honorable mention to Sicario. We've talked about that one.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
Johan
Sicario's
Johansson.
great. I'm always tossing up between Inception and Interstellar. For me, I love the music in those movies. It's so
yeah,
good.
he's
Hans Zimmer,
he's a
man.
genius at creating mood. He gets it. But for me, seeing the thematic material in Empire Strikes Back is just absolutely mind blowing. It's nuts.
What's a musical moment in a movie or a show
Mhm.
that stands out to you? Something memorable that used music in just an awesome way.
That created an impact.
Yeah, for you.
Jaws obviously was just hugely influential.
I think E.T.
Yeah,
For me, it's
I
the
flip
moment
between
like
all
when
them.
he goes up into the
Yeah.
air for the first time and the moon,
yeah.
and then
Yeah, what's that moment that gives you the feels every time you watch it with the music?
I mean, he's
Yeah.
just. I mean, and again, I do tend to forget about Jaws. As how can you forget about Jaws? But Jaws is just absolute genius.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah. In terms of like moments that like I remember and they like really stick out to me as like, you know how you can kind of just like start humming the score to something
yeah,
and like a lot of Hans Zimmer stuff, definitely Interstellar and Inception. Danny Elfman.
Mm.
I was a big Batman fan growing up, and Beetlejuice as well. I like a lot of Tim
Yeah.
Burton's earlier stuff. Man, that it just sticks with you. Those themes, those memorable themes that, you know, when you get a good memorable theme, I think that's just magic. And it's something I feel like doesn't happen near as often anymore in movies. Like you don't have a lot
No.
of memorable themes anymore.
I just think
feel like
we're in a time when it change fads change
Yeah.
coming in and out, and it's expensive to write with
Yeah.
an orchestra. You got to have some some serious money in the bank to be able to do all of that. But yeah, I miss kind of that stuff. But at the same time, I wouldn't have been able to do what I do if it hadn't have been for the Trent Reznors of this world and that Rosses
Yeah.
of this world coming out and completely redefining what a movie soundtrack was.
Yeah.
Johan Johansson. It's just these are the people that kind of came out, Clint Mansell and all the whatever, and they just completely changed the landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
for
made
sure.
me think, oh, okay, it's not just all about huge orchestral stuff and
It can be different. It can
Yeah.
be different sounds and,
Yeah.
and tones and things. What would be the best piece of advice, and maybe it's a couple different things that you could give someone who's aspiring to be a composer or just starting out in the music business that wants to make music for film and TV?
Well, I think the most important thing for anybody in the artistic world is you're a creator, so keep creating. It's just that's all you need to do. Whether you're a composer, I always set myself a target every day of writing at least 2 or 3 minutes worth of music. So just keep creating. That's the thing. Just kind of learn your skill, learn a particular DAW that everyone records on, and whether it's Logic or Cubase or Pro Tools,
Mhm.
learn it the best that you can, and just keep creating. That's
Yeah.
the only thing to do, and then you can start going out and asking indie filmmakers and people from film schools whether they have any footage, or you can rip footage off of YouTube. And there's so many tools available nowadays to kind of get that ball rolling.
I've seen other composers do that for like their reel.
Mhm.
They will take scenes from other movies
Yeah,
and score it themselves, like basically take away the score that was there
yeah,
and give it their own spice.
yeah.
And have you done stuff like that before?
I haven't done that, and I think that's good.
Good exercise,
Practice,
yeah.
exercise. I think that sometimes with those things, if you are scoring to like an Avengers film or Mission Impossible, I think you can get distracted from you're seeing a Mission Impossible film, and so I would always either go and try and find some footage or shoot your own footage. You can
Yeah.
do it on
Yeah.
an iPhone nowadays and all this kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
but there are so many filmmakers out there that are, young filmmakers that are, creating some cool stuff, just get your name out there. Because, the worst thing you can do is, if people don't know you're available and you're doing what you're doing,
Yeah.
then no one's going to kind of come and knock on the door and,
Yeah.
you're not a film composer, are you? Oh my God, that's so weird. I am.
How did you guess?
Yeah.
Right. What's like the bare minimum equipment someone would need today to do the kind of things you're talking about? Like what software specifically, what gear do you need? What's the barrier to entry into making music?
Pretty cheap nowadays. Everyone needs to have a DAW that they can record into, whether, like I said, it be Logic, Cubase, or Pro Tools, Ableton, or even GarageBand. Nowadays, a lot of people you can get GarageBand on your phone.
Yeah.
So, start off learning one of those really well. Always helps to have an idea, because the industry uses Pro Tools.
Yeah.
So it's always good, whatever one you pick, also kind of learn a bit of Pro Tools. And then, to get some basic gear, depending on, if you have an instrument or you don't, it's pretty cheap nowadays. You can get the whole thing for, close to $500.
Wow.
Yeah, the barriers to entry are
They're nothing like they used to be.
they're far lower. They're just anyone can. Now, does that mean everyone will? Or even if someone does go get all the stuff? No, it's all the other stuff you were talking about too.
Mhm.
It's about putting your name out there. It's about volunteering to work on someone's short film or whatever.
And putting in the hours, creating, just learning, as you go, like what works, what doesn't, what sounds good, what doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. Like a good friend of mine that I grew up with at school, we would make short cine films in like our friend's back garden, horror films, because we used to, love Evil Dead and all this kind of stuff, and Freddy and Jason. And we would have 7 minutes to make these movies on one reel, so you'd have to edit as you're going along.
Right.
Mhm.
And the guy that did all those was a guy called Corin Hardy, who's now, doing
Directed The Nun.
The Nun and The Hallow and Gangs of London.
Gangs of London,
and
yeah.
He's doing this new thing with Sam Raimi right now, which I'm sure he's going nuts over, because we were Evil Dead 2 fans, was just like the film.
Nice.
But that's where it starts,
Mhm.
and where it can end is there's a whole world of possibilities, and it's just about just keep on moving forward. And when you're having a bad day, take a day off, go and surf, or go and wander in the forests, or go watch a movie, or do whatever, and then just get back on the horse again and just and get out there, because it will eventually happen. It never happens when you want it to, because if it did, then everyone would be doing it, and it wouldn't. Those moments when you break through, they don't feel as special, because it's it never works.
Reg, it's good to have you here, man.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We're very excited to be working with you on many more things in the future.
Yes.
We're currently working on already our Tremendum logo. We've started that process, which we've shown here at the podcast, and the music for that's going to be, we hope and feel like it will be one of those things that captures that magic of movies that we all love, that very Spielberg, John Williams vibe. That's the kind of movies we'd like to make more of here at Tremendum. So we're excited about that and other projects coming up that we're going to be working together on, man.
Yeah, man.
And I think people should follow Reg.
Yeah, I was about to ask, what is your social media?
That's a good question. I think it's at _Breakspear, BREAKSPEAR.
Richard Breakspear. We'll tag it here in the stuff. Reg posts, just like he said, every day. I think almost every day I see something new on your feed, stuff you're working on, whether it's just a piece that never sees the light of day other than social media. You're making stuff all the time on your story and your Instagram. I see it all the
Unique
time.
instruments, all kinds of cool stuff too.
So be sure to check out Reg on Instagram and see and listen to a lot of the cool stuff he's doing. Hopefully it'll inspire you if you're interested in making music or film composing.
Or if you're a filmmaker, please reach out to Reg, because he is incredibly talented and will make quick work of a lot of really great stuff that you'll have a hard time turning down, essentially.
That's exactly right. Reg, any final words of wisdom you want to share before we wrap up?
Definitely no wisdom. But no, like I said, just go out there, create, have fun with it, and it'll happen, man.
It'll happen. Amen to
Well, thank
that,
you.
brother.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Unlikely Story. This has been super fun. We're always happy to have Reg up here in Fresno
you.
so that he can experience the heat and the sweet corn on pizza.
Yeah.
And, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks again.